Hi, it's Laura Morley here from Toddler Talk NZ. We're all about helping you to enjoy the parenting journey with your toddler. And today I want to welcome you to Toddler Talk TV. Today I want to introduce our guest, Diane Levy. She is an absolute parenting guru and a legend when it comes to all things toddler. Diane has spent many years working with families individually through her counselling as a family therapist, and she's also done a lot of workshops. So over the years, she's met a lot of parents, just like you, who need help with getting their toddler to stop biting, kicking, hitting, and having explosive tantrums. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. She's also going to talk to you about how to build emotional resilience and how to help your child in supporting them through those big emotions that they experience. Diane talks about the issue of time out versus time in, and whether it's a valuable thing to use with your toddler or not. So sit back, relax and enjoy. Don't forget to go to our show notes at toddlertalk.co.nz/blog to find how you can get your hands on Diane's book or how you can join one of her workshops. If you're watching this before the 6th of August 2016, then you're welcome to join us at our Toddler Parenting Workshop event, where Diane's going to be speaking. For now, enjoy this episode. Hello, Diane. It's so lovely to have you on Toddler Talk TV today. And I feel really, really honoured to have you as our special guest because I know that you have a huge following of people who absolutely love hearing your tips and ideas. And as a parent myself, I remember going to your workshop when I had, probably 10 years ago actually, when I had a little toddler, and I found so many of your ideas to be so practical and relevant to me. So I want to thank you for all the work that you've already done with parents so far, and we really look forward to attending your workshops and reading your books and getting more and more knowledge, because I feel like you are just so wise. And the first thing I want to do in the interview is I just want to ask you what your typical day looks like.
Well, first of all, I need to say hi, Laura, and thank you so much for having me on. Hello to everyone out there. I think your organisation, Toddler Talk, is fantastic, and I'm very privileged to be part of it, so thank you. Typical day for me, well, it actually depends on which day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are counselling days, but often that's preceded. I have currently 2 of my 3 children live on the other side of the world. So very often I start the day either talking to the grown-ups or more often speaking to the grandchildren. And that's a special joy. So those are with the international grandchildren. I regard them as my refresher course because there's one who's 3 and there are 2-year-old twins. So if I ever want to be in touch with how busy mothers can be, all I need to do is to talk to my daughter or watch the grandchildren in action. So love the counselling days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Often in the evening, again, I have a chance also to speak to the other side of the world. And then Thursday, Friday is all the work that underpins that. So I'm either writing articles or preparing seminars or what else do I do? And then I have the joy over the weekend, usually Friday night and the weekend, of the Auckland grandchildren. And they are 10, 11 and 12. Good grandmas should know this. So more grandchildren stuff. And of course, then there's most of my speaking engagements are evenings and weekends.
Fantastic.
So that tells you a typical day is not a typical day.
Yeah, well, you must have a very varied experience in working with people. So when you're doing your counselling, when you're doing your speaking, how do you actually help people?
Mainly, I like to help people with the ordinary problems of parenting. I really believe that I'm there to help people with the ordinary problems, the everyday problems. And mostly the way I help people is just to work out, or parents, is just to work out strategies that will, practical, hands-on strategies that will get them a different outcome from the outcome they're getting at the moment. The way I see families rather like a mobile. So we all know that if you tug one bit of the mobile, the rest of the mobile moves into a different place. So if I can get parents to do something differently, then the children inevitably have to respond differently, hopefully better.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I first got your book when I was working at a primary school in Auckland. And what I found really interesting is that our assistant principal would actually recommend this book to certain parents who would come to her and say, you know, I'm struggling in a certain area. And she'd be like, oh, you need to read chapter such and such from Diane's book. So I've got it here, and I remember getting a copy of it. And when I read it, and I still, you know, refer back to it now with my parenting, I find myself nodding a lot, because I think a lot of what you've said in the book is very, very practical. And I find myself feeling like it very much aligns with common sense. And sometimes just looking at things from a slightly different perspective, you go, oh, okay, yes, I can do that. And, you know, you kind of take us by the hand and walk us through the journey, which is great. And I found in part 3, where you talked about the path to emotional independence, I think is one of the absolute gold nuggets of this book. And I just wondered whether you could talk to that a little bit, of how we can best support our toddlers when they are having those really big, overwhelming feelings that they don't know what to do with.
Yes, I think, you know, the Kiwi term is tantrum, and I think we have a very unfortunate expression, which is, you know, tantrums are attention-seeking behaviour, and I really, really don't see that way. I think tantrums are an expression of absolute overwhelm. Well, actually, there's two sorts of tantrums. You know, if we were actually videoing a tantrum, we could not tell if it's a tantrum of despair or a tantrum of control. Okay, so there are two sorts of tantrums, and the tantrum you're talking about is the tantrum of despair. That is the tantrum that says, my life is over, I can't cope, I don't understand, I'm exhausted, I'm frustrated, I'm upset. And basically that one needs our support. They need us to cuddle them, they need us to make suitable clucking sounds. Oh, sweetheart, you're so angry, you're so upset. They actually need us to support their feelings and help them control the feelings, because they are out of control. The other sort of tantrum, which we may think about later, is the tantrum of control, which is, I'm going to scream until you do it my way. And that sort of tantrum I think we should handle differently. But mostly toddlers go into overwhelm. And I think one of the things we should think about as parents is our part in the tantrum. Are they overtired? Have they had too much stimulation? Is there just too much going on and they can't cope? Are they bewildered? Any of those things, those are in our control. And one of the things we need to think about is, could we manage their life a little bit differently? And then it's where those are the ones that we can do something about. The ones where they've just blown a fuse, what they need is our comfort and the security of the fact that we'll look after them till the tantrum is over.
I love it, because a lot of the time when our toddlers are feeling overwhelmed and they are showing those emotions, it is really difficult to know, what do I do with this little tornado of a child? You know, I don't know where to start. And especially when you're kind of emotionally connected with them, you just want to make everything better, don't you? And you just want them to be happy. And one thing I've learned as a parent is it's okay to allow your child to kind of be in angry mode, and that's an emotion which they need to experience, and they need to learn how to process that and how to self-regulate and how to calm down, and that we don't have to always make it happy all the time. But I think feeling they have that emotional support is absolutely crucial in the toddler years, isn't it?
Yes,
like when they were
very much so. When you're blowing a fuse, as we know as adults, when you're blowing a fuse, you want someone to understand, not to reprimand.
Yeah, so
from an adult perspective, if we're really angry and upset about something, we really don't need someone to say, pull yourself together, go sit in the corner till you've sorted yourself out. We need someone there going, oh, that's awful for you, and I'll be here for you while you're feeling so upset.
I love it. So right. Now, what happens with those toddlers, though, that really lose the plot and they start to bite or kick or hit or do some kind of physical aggression? And sometimes it's in the context of a tantrum, and then other times it's more in the context of, you know, them just being very impulsive when they're playing with their friends. And I know on our VIP group, which we have for Toddler Talk, which is a private Facebook group, we've had this come up as one of our Q&A Tuesday questions, where parents have been saying, look, my child's actually, you know, playing nicely, and then all of a sudden they'll bite somebody or they'll hit or kick. And they just don't really know the most effective way to deal with that kind of behaviour. So have you got any ideas and strategies that we can take away?
Lots. I think the first thing, again, to think about of those questions, is the child overwhelmed? Are there too many people around? My favourite expression is, have they had too much day? Of course, they might have had too much day by 10:30 a.m. But, you know, those things, it's definitely a thing to say the child isn't handling the situation, and perhaps we need to divert them from that situation. But the other one is, the other way is, there are behaviours, hitting, biting, spitting, shoving, grabbing, all of those that are totally socially unacceptable. And for those ones, I do favour a timeout, but a very swift and fairly swift, firm but kind. The best expression for me is scoop and dump. Child bites, scoop them up, pop them in the cot or the corner or wherever, and leave. And what you're doing is the absolute opposite of emotional support, which is emotional distance. But I think where I probably diverge from a lot of my colleagues is, I think most of the time this needs to be really brief. You know, I think somewhere between 10 and 30 seconds. You're just making the point that you won't allow this behaviour, and every time the child does it, they will have a quick scoop and exile to show that you won't tolerate this behaviour. But they won't learn more from being there a long time. My favourite is if you can do this so swiftly that they haven't had time to draw breath and scream, and then you can get in and say, go and just open the door and say, you ready to come out now? Would a cuddle help? And go back into being the supportive parent. But to make the point, you won't tolerate that behaviour.
That's fantastic. And I know that a lot of people, so-called experts, I guess we'd call them, are now moving away from actually using timeout and moving more towards time in. And I appreciate the fact that you've written a book about timeout for tots, teens, and everyone in between, and you still are advocating this as a strategy with toddlers. So I was just wondering about your viewpoint on that. When I read what other people are saying about time in, they're actually talking about the emotional support that we've just been talking about, and supporting your children's feelings, and that I started advocating about 25 years ago. So I just think they're catching up. I do think in terms of time in, if you happen to have popped a child on timeout and they're distraught, absolutely go in and be with them. Walk in and say, would a cuddle help? Because if they're over, and stay in there with them. So, but that's for the overwrought child. For the child who just can be popped there, change their mind, and come out ready to behave, I think timeout's fine. But with an overwrought child, I would certainly go in and support their feelings, no question. What about for when they come out of timeout? Say they have hurt another child, do they need to make some kind of apology, or how do they build the bridge with the child or the adult that they might have inflicted pain on?
I think expecting a toddler, if we're talking about toddlers, to build a bridge, I think actually where's the grown-ups are the bridge builders. I think we're asking quite a lot of a toddler. As they get older, certainly I think apologies are called for. I think mainly because once a child has sufficient self-control to come out and say, I'm sorry, that the episode is over. Some children would rather lose teeth than apologise. And for those children, I think you're fighting uphill with it. You have to stay in your room until you apologise. I think what we have to accept is that you've acted, you've made them stop the behaviour, you've taken an action which says we won't tolerate this behaviour. I think we'd be better off joining them back into play rather than getting into this this awful bit about apologise or apologise, sorry. Yeah. I think we're better off just moving along. What we've done is we've shown our child that we won't tolerate the behaviour and that we'll support them to get the behaviour right.
I know, and sometimes it can be quite embarrassing as a parent as well, because if you take your child to say sorry to the person and the child doesn't say it in a remorseful way, and when they're really little as a toddler, they don't really have the capacity to do so. It's quite.
Well, they don't feel sorry either. They're only sorry they're caught.
Yes. That's very well said.
Yes. Yes. Usually it's us feeling embarrassed. Usually the child who was hurt is over it. And actually we'd be better off saying, look, I'm really sorry to the parent, because it's the parent who's aggrieved. Usually the little bitten one has had their cuddle and is over it and probably ready to play again.
How long does it normally take, Diane, for them to get out of this biting behaviour? If they are doing it, how long does it take them to kind of build a new pattern? Like, say you had a child that regularly did it.
Yeah, I go on the assumption that if you will act each time, so any time your child, if you're dealing with biting, any time the child bites, they're exited so fast their little feet don't touch the ground. If you do that swift and sure, if you accompany with saying quite assertively, you know you're not allowed to bite, that's the sort of thing. I wouldn't give explanations about it hurts, and I wouldn't give explanations about, no, your mouth's feeding. Skip all of that stuff. One strong statement, you know you're not allowed to hurt as you scoop them up. We know you're not allowed to bite. I think if we do that, if we are committed to do that 10 times in a row, every time it happens, I think the behaviour stops. It may come back, but certainly if you do it 10 times in a row, children have worked out you won't tolerate it.
Absolutely. And I think it's something that, you know what I notice with a lot of parents, they actually try and give the lecture. So if their kid bites, they go, oh, don't do that. You know that it's hurting such and such. And, it's like the child ends up getting so much positive attention from something that they've just done negatively that, they start to continue with that behaviour because they think, oh, well, that's when my parent's actually giving me attention. They might be having a coffee with their friend, but always got the attention when I bite.
I don't know if I see it so much as attention, but what I do see is we're assuming the child doesn't understand that they're not allowed to, and our explanation will help. I think if you imagine yourself interviewing your child and saying, even to a pre-verbal child, you're allowed to bite your friends. And they'd go, oh. And you say, do you do that sometimes? And it's fun. Yeah. And they'll say yes. So you've already done the interview in your head. You don't need to keep repeating it. It's probably quite an unkind question, but is the child bright or is the child stupid? Most of our children will get a concept after 2 or 3 times. So why do we keep asking them why, or explain why are you doing that, or explaining about gentle mouth or gentle hands? Why don't we just assume they know they're not supposed to do it, we know they're not supposed to do it, let's act on it. And also with slightly older children, we're so tempted to ask them, do you know why you were in timeout? And it just invites being played with no. Yeah. It's far better off just saying, time's up, out you come, and assuming it's all over.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, well, if parents are wanting to get a copy of your book, Of Course I Love You, Now Go to Your Room, Strategies for Raising Toddlers to Teens in New Zealand, how do they go about getting a copy of it?
There's many, many, many ways. My favourite way is I always carry book stock. Get in touch with me on parenting hassles at extra.co.nz. Laura, I think you'll put that up on your site as well.
Yes. We'll put that on the notes.
Get in touch by email, tell me what you want, and then happily I can send it to you. I can inscribe it with your name or with your children's name. That's one option. The other option is through Mighty Ape, through Fish Pond, through book depository through Amazon. I just checked all of these. I checked all of these last night, and they all have them. So that's the other way. And your local bookshop will get it in for you if you ask them.
Do you have it as an ebook, or is it just a hard copy book?
Absolutely available as an ebook too, but not through me. That's a little bit beyond me. But certainly as I record, I think all of them will have it as an ebook, and if one doesn't, try the other one.
Yeah, well, we will put a link to that in our show notes anyway, so people are welcome to go to toddlertalk.co.nz/blog, and we'll leave the information in there for people to get in touch with you. Maybe they want to have a one-on-one consultation with you just to talk through some of the issues that they might be having and get a fresh perspective of what they can do with their toddler. But for now,
so the best way for a one-on-one is actually just ring me.
Okay.
So that we can check out what we can do.
Yeah.
My number's 09, and then that's Auckland, and then 575-6762.
Fantastic.
Laura's putting that up on the site as well.
I will. Well, have a great rest of your day, Diane, and may you go forth and solve all the problems of the world now.
Thank you. It's been wonderful to speak. Sorry, I overtalked you. Go on.
I know that you have some counselling ahead of you, so I hope that you have a lovely rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you at our toddler parenting workshops in August.
I'm looking forward to that too. Laura, thank you for making it so easy for me and for asking some great questions. Thank you very much, and thank you to whoever's listening out there.